But anyway, there are a couple videos that I want to watch. Let's take a look over here. Legendary drops. I talked to Ubisoft Devs. It's far worse than we thought. Because the new, I think it's Assassin's Creed Shadows is what it's called. Just looks like shit. And then they used a black guy who might not have been a samurai, might have been in the Yakuza and all this other stuff. So yeah, it's been a shit show for him. So let's see what he has to say.
Far worse than I ever could have imagined. After my last video chronicling the rise and fall of Ubisoft, I had both current and former Ubisoft developers reach out for comment. Today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about the issues that the studios face today from the perspective of their own employees. Everything from Me Too movement allegations to agenda-driven content.
That I have to say is crazy. Like having the employees like reach out there to you and everything and their own perspectives, and it's worse than you think. That just tells me that somebody at the studio is fucking up somewhere down the line, right? And it has to be the higher ups. I honestly think, because if you look at Star Wars Outlaws, right? They thought that the fucking 67 or 76 was good. But they had middling reviews because they're fucking catering to the reviewers instead of the people that are actually wanting to play the video games. When you bring politics and things like that and people wanting to push their own agenda onto things or toxic positivity about everything, it's just fucking stupid.
I want to contrast the comments made in these interviews with what we've seen from Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws. This company has a deep-rooted leadership issue, going as far to think that the vast majority of online criticism is just a...
Oh, didn't even pre-watch it. But yeah, like you said, leadership issue.
Toxic minority of gamers. This company and its leadership think that they are on the righteous path. Little do they know, it's a dead end. Assassin's Creed Shadows has been steeped in controversy and criticism since its initial reveal. Online discourse surrounding the game has been almost entirely...
The craziest thing is like, this is a slam dunk. All they had to do was put fake people in the game like they have been doing, right? And put like some historical figures with vaguely historical facts in there. It's not like they've ever done true historical things. And they might have done some, but like for the most part, it's really not focused on being true. It started off being a fucking video game. And these fucking stupid higher ups think that they could just push their agenda rather than just making a good game. Nobody fucking cares what you have to say or what you think. Make a good video game.
Negative, with long-term fans of the franchise, general audience, and Japanese audiences up in arms over the creative liberties that Ubisoft has taken with the depiction of Yasuke, the fabled Black Samurai, and feudal Japan. Japanese creators, as well as just random bystanders, have taken to Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube and Reddit, voicing their concerns offended by the game's representation of their history and culture. Inaccuracies like...
That's another thing. They offended the people that they're making this for, and they're not even part of that culture. And that's what's stupid, right? Like, they are making a game for fucking people that it's supposed to represent, and they aren't happy with it, but they say it's just toxic gamers.
Like using Chinese architecture instead of Japanese, the legitimacy and relevance of the game's protagonist, Yasuke, and even going as far as stealing a flag and imagery from the Sekihara Teppotai, a historical reenactment group where the company had to formally apologize for not asking for permission to use their materials. Ubisoft's adventure into Japanese history has been a complete disaster, and it's only going to get worse. On September 11th of 2024, an article was penned by the New York Times titled "The Fight Over a Black Samurai in Assassin's Creed." The writer, Zachary Small...
See, and that's the thing is, like, why does it have to be a black samurai, right? Like, why can't it just be a samurai? Why can't this game just have a good story? When you bring, like, race and politics and those kind of things in there, you're making a controversy game, and I feel like you're doing it on purpose. Just to fuck with people.
misrepresents the controversy and player concerns as merely those of a toxic minority of angry Western gamers, and the entire time he fixates on the race of Yasuke and not the broader implications at play in Ubisoft's mishandling and the frank disrespect for Japanese culture and history. This article was a collaboration between Ubisoft and the New York Times in an attempt to redirect the discussions surrounding Assassin's Creed Shadows and minimize the feedback. The writer spoke with Kazuma Hashimoto, a consultant and translator for the games industry, later to be found out to be an employee of Sweet Baby Incorporated. That
Oh, fucking Sweet Baby Inc. There it is, right there. Every time some gender issue in gaming comes up, it always somehow links back to fucking Sweet Baby Inc. Hmm. Shouldn't. Hmm. Hmm. I wonder why.
that did consultant work for Ubisoft, but Hashimoto claimed that it was people in the West who were upset with seeing Yasuke as a samurai, and that many of the online negative comments were written in Japanese, appeared to be roughly translated from English, effectively hand-waving the increasingly loud and valid concerns of the Japanese, asserting that it's all made-up outrage.
Yeah, that, like, basically just stating that anybody who had outrage over this online was just some fucking gamer who didn't understand it and translated it loosely using Google Translate. But wouldn't it be safe to say that, like, if they are translating it back from, like, Google Translate, we could just say the same thing about their translates, that they didn't translate it correctly? It's, like, fucking stupid.
Nothing more than the gamer's war against DEI or inclusivity in video games. I find it all too poetic and predictable for a AAA publisher to brush off player concerns and use their connections in the media to try to steer public discourse and sentiment into a favorable direction. All of these claims made by the New York Times, as well as other writers, are patently false. You can see the criticisms of Ubisoft's recent releases and the future release in Assassin's Creed Shadows everywhere. It's impossible to ignore. Videos and promotional material ratioed by dislikes and comments in mass numbers. Videos like mine and many others reaching widespread appeal because we have that many people.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing is, like, it's like the meme of the dog, right, that's in the house that's on fire and he's going, everything is fine, rather than addressing the issue and being like, hey, maybe this isn't what people want in their video games, that maybe they don't need this thing, and if I am going to want to engage them, how can we do that in a way that doesn't piss off people and makes it more engaging? Like, why isn't that the thought, right? Rather than saying that it's just the toxic gamers and things like that, why can't we just say, oh, maybe my story isn't good? Maybe my fucking game isn't good. Maybe you should actually make a depiction of trans people or gay people that isn't fucking a pandering mess, because I don't think most of that community likes to be pandered to either. I'm sure they would rather have something that's just a good representation of it and not controversy broiled in it every time that they turn around. Like, that's the thing that pisses me off more than anything, is like, it's not a matter of like gay rights or trans rights, but they do set that community back some when they have things like this happen, and all they want to do is like talk about, like, oh, this game is like this because we got women's rights, or this game's like this because, like, we're gonna focus on a black samurai versus like just making a good video game. It's just fucking stupid.
People that agree or share similar opinions. With that said, I couldn't imagine that it was possible for anyone to ignore this level of feedback, and Ubisoft has to be seeing it. So I spoke with a few developers from Ubisoft to shed some light on these issues.
Seeing it.
I started off by asking,
Hold on, like, let's look up what is it? Ubisoft stock. Alright, so it's bounced back a little bit. It's not at just a flat $2. If we go back here, it was $3 just a month ago. Let's go back 1 year. What's this? Almost $7. 5 years. Let's go back to the max. We're looking at their stock dropping year over year, right? Let's see. Even during the pandemic, they were at $20, but yet afterwards, they're now at $2.21. Just let that sink in. This is an all-time low. Like, even if we go back here, it's $1. That's them probably getting on the stock exchange, them going through stuff. This is probably like the start of COVID, right? This is like peak after COVID time, peak gaming period, right? And ever since then, downhill. Scandal after scandal after scandal has ruined this fucking gaming company.
How Ubisoft internalizes and discusses general criticism from players and the rest of the industry, whether that's its repetitive design, agenda-driven content, or predictable games. They responded saying, at a high level, they rarely talk about it. At a project level, they brush it off as toxic gamer talk. As Asmongold correctly pointed out in a video of his, Ubisoft is filled with toxic positivity that prevents any growth. I then asked,
so even the developers are like, yeah, it's toxic positivity, just like Asmongold said. So I'm just saying, I know a lot of people think he's a polarizing subject, but fucking Asmongold is base sometimes. I'm gonna say it right now.
what about the Japanese community's backlash over Assassin's Creed Shadows? It's obvious that they haven't done their research, and even the smallest details are going to be noticed by a culture that's as proud as the Japanese. They responded by saying that the criticisms haven't been talked about, and they've only issued demands that we mustn't engage with discussion on that topic publicly. Meaning everything that we've said up until this point, all the criticism that we've had over the years for Ubisoft games, even that of the industry itself, has fallen on deaf ears. I don't know if it's sad or if it's somewhat, it's somewhat cathartic to have that validated. I mean, it's the
They just don't care. Oh shit. No, hold on. This not to fall off my desk. Oh, fuck me, right? Try to adjust. Yeah, sometimes that happens. You get in there and then you're like, sometimes I just want to ruin my life completely. And starting off great, fucking knocked my microphone off of it. How are you doing tonight, Mango? Oh, wrong.
main complaint that the vast majority of gamers have had.
We're learning about the Ubisoft controversy and what the devs of the studio actually thinks. It says, I've talked to Ubisoft devs and it's far worse than we thought. So let's take a look. So basically boils down to That's true. I honestly am gonna start a brand new character tonight, Advent Tasty. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. First, we got reacts to get through.
Over the years, which is that these companies
And we've been watching this for only 5 minutes, and we're at about 22 minutes. Yeah, see, that's where I'm kind of at. I'm burnt out with Destiny 2, so I'm branching out. I played WoW for a little bit. I have a maxed hunter, and I've been through the new campaign. Um, yeah, we're gonna cut this up into a couple videos, post on tomorrow. We'll see how them go. But yeah, so yeah, I have done things in WoW. I've put like 5,000 hours into Destiny 2. I'm trying to like get into a new game. I've a couple buddies that play old school RuneScape, so I thought I'd give it a try.
aren't listening to us. And in this case, I have developers that are telling
Oh,
me,
my cat wants
yeah,
in.
they're not listening to you. One, because they don't want to
Really?
take criticism, and two, because they don't know how to differentiate bad from good criticism. I think this is my patented catchphrase by now, but when you have this much negative discourse surrounding
Come here,
your
big
games,
boy.
you need to be listening, regardless of whether or not it's good or bad feedback in your eyes,
This is
regardless
my
if you
gato.
align with these people's political beliefs or social political beliefs or whatever it might be. None of that matters. When you have your games on fire as much as Ubisoft games have been lately, you need to put those fires out somehow. And the only way that you can do that is by listening to them and implementing
Wants his
whatever
attentions.
feedback you possibly can into your games to make
This is my
them better.
big boy kitty.
Regardless, the other thing is, I'm sorry. I am sick of, I am disgusted by the blatant, feigned virtue over how much they care about Japanese culture.
Yeah, that's it too. That's what really pisses me off about this too. I know you. He wants his head kissies. But yeah, this really pisses me off about the Ubisoft game too, right? Is that like they come in, they are making a game that everybody wanted in Japanese, but for the most part, they're not actually doing their research in the Japanese culture. They're just putting in things that they think are vaguely Japanese. And some of them are actually Chinese or Korean, or they're using ancient things that they can't use in video games, or at least need to ask permission to use in video games, right? And that's what gets me pissed off more than anything is that, like, yeah, you're saying that you have this virtue of actually caring about the Japanese culture, but then when it comes down to it and the Japanese people are pushing back on it, you say it's just actually the vitriol from gamers. But then when but then when the Japanese people are pointing out that you're using things that are used in rituals, you're like, oh yeah, sorry, we shouldn't have done that. Anyway, look at this Japanese game we made. It has Chinese things in it. Just go fuck yourself.
Culture and history. I'm sorry. You are bastardizing Japanese culture and history for profit. That's what you're trying to do here. You're not trying to make a history piece. We know that. It's very loosely based on Japanese culture and history. Look at you guys.
The most loosely based on culture of the Japanese people.
Put out a Torigate figurine, a half Torigate figurine with
Oh, this fucking... I'll let him explain.
your characters on it without knowing the cultural relevance of the half Torigate after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Do you have...
Yeah, little bit of historical relevance. That gate right there was the last thing that was left standing after American dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That is seen as a cultural symbol for them where they actually have it memorialized. So it's something that, maybe you wouldn't fucking try to monetize with pop figurines.
any idea what that means to these people? What's wrong with you?
They were fucking devastated by an atomic bomb. Oh, you gonna go to there? Go to your pedestal, buddy. Yeah. Their fucking country was devastated by an atomic bomb. And what do? They're like, hey, how do we make a quick buck about this?
At the end of the day, it all comes down to
Oh,
leadership. When you look at Ubisoft's messaging, the lackluster delivery of titles like XDefiant and Star Wars Outlaws, the inaccuracies and screw-ups with Assassin's Creed Shadows, you see a developer that has no clear plan or vision for what players want, what good games look like, or how to even do their job. I took the time to talk to the Ubisoft.
They don't even realize what they're doing wrong. That's the thing, is they think that they're so in the right that they don't even realize what they're doing. Oh my god. That's fucking insane. I just putting that together, I guess, but really, the Ubisoft people think that they're so in the right that they don't even realize that the people that they are harming are the people they're trying to put up. That's fucking stupid.
Ubisoft developers about workplace culture, about the initiative that they've taken for diversity hiring, and what happens behind the scenes at Ubisoft. And it's wild to see how accurate some of the assumptions that have been made by myself and others. Now, continuing my conversation with one of the developers, I wanted to find more about the workplace structure and management. And seeing as though the company has...
Also, keep in mind, Ubisoft is a French company that's run by a white dude. That's all I'm saying.
Had initiatives that have been put in place to make the workplace a little bit more diverse. I asked, what benefits have you seen? Is there more diversity in thought, or is it creating a more one-sided environment? They said that so far the initiative hasn't had any impact on the team that I'm a part of. However, it's clear that some topics are taboo. What happened is now that people end up in a meeting with HR for trivial stuff, not adding smiley faces to a message or adding an exclamation point at the end of a message because some people are reporting it for harassment. One of the...
Are you fucking kidding me? So if I don't respond to you with an a smiley face, you're gonna fucking report me to HR? Oh my god, who wants to work for that company, man? Like, it's just fucking a shame. Like, I just don't get why people think that they, like, because honestly, that is a form of harassment. Like, I don't, well, again, they're in France, but in the United States, if you continuously harass or like call upon authorities to go after somebody, that is a form of harassment.
One of the things that wasn't in your video is that Ubisoft had some controversy during the Me Too period, letting go of a manager in high positions, and some left on their own because they knew they'd be discovered. I then asked, what was the impact of this?
So we don't even know all of it. We don't even know all of the shenanigans that happened from the sexual assault scandal that happened a couple years ago. That's fucked up. There's victims out there that are still victims that nobody even knows about.
This in the workplace. They responded by saying the editorial direction and overall mindset shifted from the boys club to safe content. Reaching for plain characters like Kay in Star Wars is a perfect example of this. The idea to have beautiful characters such as Baldur's Gate or Uncharted is met with distrust. The developer shared sentiments saying that safe content...
I don't get that either. Like, this is what happened in Concord. They had a bunch of characters with character design that nobody wanted to use or play with or would cosplay as. So they the game went down. Nobody is interested in something if the fantasy isn't there, right? You're playing these because I don't have a time machine. I can't go be a samurai. Give me the fantasy of being a samurai, right? Don't give me fucking this abomination of gender euphoria or like a reafference of genderism rather than fucking a good story. I would just rather have something that's good to play. Fuck.
And also leads to limited opportunities on the gameplay side. Even for Star Wars, we had to work with Disney, which would have shut down most attempts at depicting a true criminal underworld with cruelty and drama. One of the constraints for Kay is that she must never punch down. For us in space levels, it meant that civilian ships couldn't be hurt at any point by the player, for example. When you put this developer's perspective in line with the recent failures and controversies at Ubisoft,
So you're gonna give me an RPG where I can't RPG?
or any AAA developer at this point, it all makes sense. An overcorrection in sensitivity brought on by the boys' club days that many studios experienced during their early years. As such, many games today lack the teeth and grit that players crave because those things are seen as problematic or unsafe to make in the workplace. Don't use emojis or exclamation points. You could offend someone.
So basically, they had, because I do agree that back in the day when gaming first was like popularized and everything, that it was more of a boys' club, and nowadays it isn't. It's more accepted by everybody, not just boys, and that's fine. I think it's great that we have more people doing it because it means more eyes, more money, more innovation that could happen because of more ideas that can come out of it, more things that we would have that we can't even fathom, right? So it just drives me crazy that these companies want to stifle innovation to spread posit, posit, toxic positivity. And it just is insane that, like, they're chasing this because they know that it could get them dollars. Just fix this real fast. Happened. Okay. It happened when my mic fell off. But anyway, like, it's just like one of those things, like, they're chasing the dollar to actually, you know, rather than putting out something that's in good faith of it. And it's like when everybody like Target and everything started doing Pride Month or Black History Month and all, and selling like memorabilia and shirts and all these things. Is I remember even like 5-10 years ago, there wasn't all this like marketing around like Pride Month and everything. And I'm glad that they have their month and everything. And I'm not saying to take that away, but when large corporations get involved, that means that there's some form of money that can be gained from that, and they will squeeze it for as much as they can. And I think we're just getting to the end of that squeeze, it feels like.
Holy shit. How soft have we gotten? It reminds me of the time where the Helldivers 2 community manager went on a ban spree on their Discord because players were using a throw up emoji on furry art that was posted in their Discord. Sometimes people need to be offended. While I'm going to try to resist the pull yourself up by your bootstraps tirade, friction on some levels is necessary in life. Now, that doesn't mean that people should be allowed to openly harass others, but there are major issues that arise when you have emojis that can get you fired. This overreaction and overcorrection leads to a workplace that is actively hostile towards freedom of thought, expression, and criticism. As one of the interviewees mentioned earlier, they noticed a...
Yeah, because toxic positivity is where like you really just can't say anything bad about what you're working on. You can only say positive things. But if you never point out the bad things, then how do you know what are the good things? How do you know what to expand on? How do you know what to get rid of out of the video game? There's this whole thing with it that we can't know now because you're just jamming in as much positive stuff as you can and not looking at, does it actually work in this video game?
Culture of toxic positivity. From my perspective, toxic positivity is fake people saying fake things, and in the case of Ubisoft, making fake products. Nobody wants to live their entire life being terrified that someone is going to misunderstand them. And when you're at a studio like Ubisoft and you're not even allowed to make characters attractive, otherwise it might upset people at the studio, you have a problem. This culture of fear and forced uniformity stifles creativity and innovation. It's no wonder that Ubisoft is struggling to produce anything of real substance when their own developers are walking on eggshells, more worried about HR complaints than creating groundbreaking games. How can you make...
Yeah, like, how can you do anything different in the game or make good games if you always think that you got a trip to HR right around the corner?
Bold, impactful content when every idea is scrutinized for being too risky, too offensive, or too unsafe. It's a workplace where mediocrity is rewarded and where pushing boundaries, the very things that games are supposed to do, is seen as a liability. This workplace culture, this overreaction and overcorrection has infected just about every single industry that's out there. I worked in construction for 7 years up until last December, and the company that I worked for was more afraid of HR issues than they were of injuries. We worked with hydrogen sulfide and hydrogen cyanide, gases that, if released, could kill half of a city. We've discussed modern audiences.
Yeah, it's crazy that, like, games are more worried about offending people than just making something good. I think there has to be some kind of offensive things to draw people in, right? Get the eyes on there. But it doesn't need to be to the detriment of the game. Neither does the positive sides of it. I think there needs to be a nice middle ground that needs to be struck and a tightrope kind of walked to where you can make something like, for example, like South Park. You know, South Park is a TV show that is, it's very raunchy at times, but it hits the nail on the head and gives you a joke that makes you think a little bit. So there is a way to be rude and crude about things, but not to the point that it is too much for people to handle.
Mythical, magical modern audiences and soft modern games, we found the audience. It's the people that are running these companies nowadays. You have folks that are walking around on eggshells, afraid to say anything. Anecdotal, but just like a few weeks ago or a month ago or so, I remember I was live streaming, and instinctively I said something was retarded. I'm a millennial. We all grew up saying it. It's a product of my upbringing. Say what you will. I didn't say it consciously. It just came out. And one of my chatters pops up and says, "How often do you say that word?" I banned the fuck out of them. Get the fuck out of here with that.
True. True. You can say retarded as much as you want.
Are you kidding me? People that are out there that are waiting, prepared to be offended. I'm sick of it. You cannot have workplaces that are out there where every single thing that you say, you have to watch every word that comes out of your mouth. Otherwise, it could be your livelihood. And I'm not saying that you can walk around saying anything. That's not what this is. Everybody knows. I think that's the most frustrating part when you have these kind of conversations, is that you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you can't just go around, like, grabbing people by the pussy, right? Like, you can't be Donald Trump. Because that ain't right. Like, that, you just can't be doing that. But you can't have a place that, like, you're afraid to speak up or say anything, because then, like, you're not creating a culture where people want to, like, come to work and have fun, because this fun might not be somebody else's fun and it might get me in trouble and I'm out of a job and now I have to tell my wife that we got to eat out of canned soup for the next week.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, but the intellectual dishonesty around this kind of thing is just, it's fucking mind-boggling. We have workplace environments that actively work against any type of creative or constructive criticism. That's how you get games like this. This is how games and products are being ruined over time, is because nobody's allowed to criticize things properly. You have people in the workplace that are like, I don't think that these characters are going to be received well by the fans, but they're not allowed to say anything about it. They can't say it's not hot enough. It's not masculine enough. They can't say that because it's problematic to say so. Tame and safe are the antonyms of exciting.
Who wants to play a tame game? Who wants to play a safe game? I don't. Fuck playing a safe game. Right? Like, I want to play a game that's balls to the fucking walls, stimulates my entire fucking synapses, gets me in there, and makes me want to fucking almost jizz my pants. That's all I'm saying.
Exciting and daring. Baldur's Gate 3 was exciting and daring. Star Wars Outlaws Payment's safe. Whether it's their poor job at representing Japan or the trailers of Assassin's Creed, there are clearly levels of incompetency at work. As many players have pointed out in the game trailers, the promotional materials that are meant to sell the game, you can see frame rate issues, texture issues, poor collision
Yeah, there was a sword that went through somebody's hand.
detection, weapons clipping through characters, and more. Controversies aside, this game doesn't look like it's ready for launch, and in fact, its developer just recently came out and canceled their appearance at Tokyo Game Show and announced that the game would be delayed until February.
Okay, what? I remember reading this, but let's take a second and because I think they released this on their Twitter and Instagram and everything like that. Dear players, Assassin's Creed Shadows is a dream project for us. Finally bringing the series to feudal Japan for with many features developed with our community in mind, such as parkour or renewed stealth brought by new technology, all set in a beautiful and immersive world. This is an ambitious addition to the franchise, a rich experience that can be lived through the eyes of two unique protagonists. But we realize we have more time to polish and refine the experience, pushing further some of our key features. As such, we've made the decision to postpone the release date to February 25th or February 24th, 2025. The game will release on a broad range of platforms, including Steam at launch, which says a lot because they have their own launcher for the game for PC, and they are not restricting this one. A lot of games for Ubisoft do not come out on Steam because of that. Anyway. Additionally, pre-orders will be refunded and all future pre-orders will be granted the first expansion for free. We understand this decision will come as disappointing news, especially to those who have been waiting patiently for Assassin's Creed games inspired by feudal Japan. But we sincerely believe this is the best interest of the game and ultimately your experience as a player. Rest assured, we're looking forward to the moment you will embark on a memorable adventure with Nohu and Yosuke. Until then, we thank you for your ongoing support. And I am not going to try to pronounce that.
Along with the delay, Ubisoft CEO recently issued a memo to their employees that ended up getting leaked publicly, and it showcases just how out of touch this company is with their players.
Fucked.
Rather than acknowledging their real missteps, they're clinging to critics.
He said in there that they were making games basically for the reviewer. They're not making them for the gamers.
Scores, pointing out Star Wars Outlaws had a solid 76 on Metacritic. Oh, I didn't know that you were trying to sell the game to game reviewers. That makes a lot of sense, seeing as though that you're completely ignoring player feedback that clearly shows that your game is hovering in mediocrity. Even worse, they believe that Black Friday sales are somehow going to magically turn things around, not realizing that no amount of discounting will make up for a product that fundamentally misses the mark and nobody's interested in. The memo reads more like a corporate spin than a genuine reflection of failure. No mention.
Yeah, the memo reads like something that they sent out to their board members so that they wouldn't get investigated. But oops, sorry.
Of the controversies or deeper issues that are plaguing the company. They talk about how all players want are highly polished games on launch day, when the truth is players are craving meaningful, risk-taking, authentic content, things that Ubisoft hasn't seen in decades. Even in their own memo to their own employees, they can't speak frankly about their mistakes. This sanitized messaging shows just how deeply disconnected the company.
I just would wish they'd come out and be like, yeah, our bad, we fucked up. We're gonna take a year and make the game better. Sorry, guys.
Is from the people that it should be listening to, the players. Interested in the perspective of the employees who received this memo, I had a few questions on their thoughts of the messaging and the leadership of the company. I asked, what has been the message from management to the staff about Ubisoft's declining sales? What do they believe is the reason behind it? They responded, "The fun fact is they don't talk much about it. They mainly focus on the fact that they reach their financial objectives, which are mainly achieved through casual player sales, not the vocal gamer minority that are sick of what you described in your video."
It's not. The vocal minority is speaking, or yeah, the vocal minority is speaking for the majority. I feel like there has to be people out there that can give their takes that this game just sucks because this game just sucks.
Also, something to know is that through the years, the number of management floors has increased to ridiculous amounts. So communication is often blurry unless they come directly from HQ, and even then, it's almost entirely corpo bullshit that isn't useful in the end. I asked another employee to verify the increase in management at the company, fearing that this is likely one of the biggest issues that's facing the company, seeing that lack of
Too many chefs, or too many chiefs, not enough little men. The need to get less higher ups. We need less higher ups. There's too many higher ups.
clear and creative vision, they painted a picture of a company that's not only overrun with management, but that's passively aggressive about removing higher paid and talented employees while slotting in underskilled and unexperienced management at a cheaper rate. They claim that Ubisoft as an employer shows little regard for their
Ah, that's it. They're getting rid of their veterans. That's why their games suck. They're getting rid of the people that made their games good to begin with. Because Ubisoft, I feel like in the early 2000s, late 90s, was the shit, right? Like they made some good games like Far Cry 1, 2, and 3. 3, masterpiece gaming. Something that everybody should go back and play if you haven't played it.
developers. What happens in practice is that they essentially push out senior engineers, promoting junior engineers to senior roles after just a few years of experience, oftentimes with experience in just one engine. Meanwhile, experienced developers with far broader skill sets are being overlooked. This constant cycle of turnover with inexperienced leaders leads to noticeable drops in quality, with bugs appearing in their games. The passionate, dedicated developers leave.
Yeah, it's almost like they're not experienced enough to actually do anything.
While those who are just going through the motions stay behind. This doesn't just affect the technical quality of their games, but also impacts the design and creativity. For instance, you'll find designers working on FPS mechanics who have never played an FPS game before, or engineers who don't understand how the mechanics they're building are supposed to feel. There's a lack of passion and skill across the board, and the results are obvious. That line about designers working on FPS.
Man, it really sucks too because for years the Assassin's Creed community has been screaming for a feudal Japan game. And we finally get it, and it's when they just don't give a fuck.
FPS games and leading FPS projects struck a chord with me. Not long ago, Ubisoft released XDefiant, a military shooter that was meant to compete with the likes of Call of Duty. However, since the game's release, they've lost the vast majority of their player base, with Ubisoft claiming that the game isn't dying, despite it reportedly losing 90.
When the fuck did they release this? I didn't even know this released. Hold on. Is it XDefiant? Okay. XD. Oh my god. Oh my god. See, they are releasing stuff that people don't even know is coming out. They're doing it too fast. Go to reviews. Where was that at? 2.8. 7.10. Or 7 out of 10, I mean. Ooh, Metacritic. Let's look. Guys, why are we doing this? Stupid.
4% of its players on Xbox. Why is XDefiant ran into so many issues? Netcode, hit registration, and general shooter gameplay issues. Common problems that are normally ironed out well before a game ever hits the market, especially a shooter. It's core to the gameplay. If you're playing a live service shooter, all you do is shoot. That's the gameplay. But when the shooting doesn't work, you don't have a game. Ubisoft's leadership is completely disconnected from the reality of game development and player expectations. The problems stem from a bloated management structure that's prioritizing reaching financial targets through casual player sales. Rather,
Look, say what you will about gacha games like Raid or um Honkai Star Rail or anything like that, but they have their wells, and that pays for the game. You want wells in video games if you're going to do a free-to-play game. You are hoping that somebody will open their butthole of money and spill it out on you. But no, we gotta deal with this fucking bullshit. Again, didn't even know this game released.
rather than listening to the core gaming community that's sick of their tired formulas, even their own developers are frustrated.
Right, they have Splinter Cell. They have so many good game franchises that they just squander away.
As they watch as talented senior engineers are pushed out of the studios and inexperienced juniors are promoted far too quickly, leading to a noticeable drop in quality. It's no wonder their games are riddled with bugs and lack any real innovation. This company is more focused on appearances rather than creating meaningful, engaging content. The quality of their games doesn't matter as long as they aren't offending anyone. When you see the issues that plague Assassin's Creed Shadows, the pandering, the generic virtue, the lies, the cover-ups, and the lack of understanding of what they're apparently inspired by, when you see how safe and tame, how boring, buggy, and soulless Star Wars Outlaws is, when you see how their most anticipated shooter in XDefiant is riddled with the most common
Most anticipated? Who fucking knew it was coming out?
issues, bugs, all kinds of different things that normal shooters would never have on day one, that's made by developers and led by developers that haven't even played an FPS game, you see a studio and a publisher that lacks integrity and a spine. Cowards in leadership.
Hold up. Look at that shooting. He was shooting right on it.
You see a studio and led by developers that haven't even played an FPS game. You see a studio and a publisher that lacks integrity and even played an FPS game. You see a studio and a publisher that lacks integrity and a spine. Cowards in leadership roles, afraid to loosen their grip on the wheel. Developers afraid to speak out and unable to express any of their creativity. Franchises destined for obscurity. Ubisoft isn't just losing its way, it's already lost. And the only thing left is to watch it burn. You know, it's crazy to speculate about these kind of things.
Become the meme stock. We should fucking meme stock it like we did GameStop, right? I want to fucking buy like $1,000 in it and get rich, right?
But it's an entirely different beast to find out what you've been believing this entire time is absolutely true. And I want to take the time to thank the developers that reached out to me. It was daring for them to do something like that. Obviously, their identities are being kept secret for very obvious reasons. Most of these folks could lose their job over having these kind of discussions. But keep in mind what's really sad.
No shit, they send an emoji to the wrong person. They're going to HR.
Sad about this is that there are developers that are working at these studios that want to see things change, that want to fix things, that see these obvious issues, but they're not allowed to do anything about it. That sucks. That's something that all of us can empathize with. I'm pretty sure that anybody that's watching this video right now has likely worked with some level of management that took them in the wrong direction, and led them down the wrong path.
Yep.
You know, the biggest issue for Ubisoft is that the damage is already done. Their brand is already torched. Their name and their reputation is in shambles.
Yeah, I see a Ubisoft game come out, and I'm like, I'm good. I don't really care to play it. And it used to be the opposite, right? Used to love playing Ubisoft games. Ubisoft game coming out? What's it about? Far Cry 3? What? Splinter Cell? What? Let's do this.
Shambles by now. And looking...
Hold on. What's my guy got going on in the background here?
developers that are working at these studios that want to
Oh,
see
it
things
looks like it
change,
was
that
just
want
the
to
cat.
fix things,
Okay.
that see these obvious issues, but they're not allowed to do
Like,
anything
this
about
guy's
it.
got a ghost in his house, right?
That sucks. That's something that all of us can empathize with. I'm pretty sure that anybody that's watching this video right now has likely worked with some level of management that took them in the wrong direction, and led them down the wrong path. You know, the biggest issue for Ubisoft is that the damage is already done. Their brand is already torched. Their name and their reputation is in shambles by now. And looking and seeing that they have pushed back Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's for obvious reasons. While they're going to say that it's for fixing issues in the game, there's issues that we saw in the trailers, so that's totally believable. The game likely does need more time. And
Yeah, there is a lot of problems that we saw. They need some more time on that thing to cook.
the oven more than anything else. But outside of that, I really think it's just them trying to distance it from all of the bad press, because there's a lot of people that have been talking about Ubisoft.
And we can't let them. We need to keep on Ubisoft, right? Like, they go to put the game out, everybody needs to be like, this is what Ubisoft did last time.
A lot of people that have been talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows, and it doesn't look good. And pushing it all the way to February, I don't think any of that's going to change anything. If anything, seeing how often they like to put their own foot in their mouth when it comes to Assassin's Creed Shadows, you're just giving me and a bunch of other content creators more time to farm you more than anything else. I was talking to one of the developers about the delay, and they're like, one of the things that really confused the whole group of developers is that they're like, well, we need more time to fix bugs and issues, but we're also going to add more quests and side content. They're like, those two things don't have anything to do with one another, and one creates more issues.
Yeah. If I'm a developer at this studio, right? Like, I am fucking shitting bricks. You can't say anything meaningful in the games that actually impacts the development of it that makes it better, or you might get taken to HR. You can't, and when you do go to fix it, they say stuff like, yeah, we're gonna add more quests and fix the games, but one of them doesn't make it easier to do the other one. Oh my god. Sometimes I feel like these guys are like, they've got to be smoking crack or something, right? Like, something has to be going on. Like, he has to be having a mental breakdown, or there has to be a group of yes men at the studio. There's got to be something. Like, we're going to get, like, this documentary of the downfall of Ubisoft that's going to explain everything, and it's going to be like hookers and booze or something, right?
This doesn't make any sense. And also, you push it to February, the month that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Monster Hunter Wilds release.
Oh,
you're cooked. What are you doing?
Oh,
what are you doing?
Oh, what are you doing? Monster Hunter Wilds? Oh, you're fucked.
I don't know, man. I want to thank everybody. Thank you guys for watching the last video as well. It was my first 1 million view video. That's just a wild achievement, one that I wasn't really sure that I'd ever be able to achieve.
Yep.
And you guys made that possible, so thank you guys for that. Again, if it wasn't for your guys' support, stories like these wouldn't be able to come out. I hope I get to do more stuff like this in the future, because I had a great time making this video. This is probably this is my most favorite video that I've ever made. But yeah,
I really
outside
like
of that,
this video.
thank you guys.
This is really good.
If you guys have enjoyed the content, make sure that you're sharing these videos. Make sure you like the video, comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. What are you doing? Come on, man. Just hop on board. If you guys want to catch me live, you can follow me on Twitch. I'm live 2 days a week. I'm working on videos 4 days a week. I'm sleeping 1 day a week.
Yeah, look at those
but outside of that, my friends, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. I'll catch you guys next time.
Like, the Ubisoft situation's crazy, because here we have a game studio that used to be a mega giant, now that makes AAA games. Let's remind you, they make AAA games. They don't make AA or indie games, they sometimes put those out and publish those games, but they make AAA games. And they are dropping the ball, right? Like they're making it to where they're a laughing stock. Like I said, when I hear that Ubisoft is putting out a new game, I'm not interested in playing it at all. I don't give a shit what Ubisoft puts out because nothing that they put out is interesting anymore. It's too safe and it's too tame. I need something more energetic. I need something in my face, and I need a little bit of rudeness and crudeness in it. I want them to make Conker's Bad Fur Day 2. Just saying, guys. Just saying. Let's have them make a game that is supposed to be offensive and let them go crazy. Obviously, I'm joking because they would fuck that up, and I would want Rare to do it again. Either way, great video. Love legendary drops.